Three.
Action!
And we're live.
And we're live.
Here we go.
Boom, boom, boom.
So, as always, we shall wait for everyone to come and join us.
Wait for thousands and thousands of people who are following Hannibal Brown Wines, and quite right so.
Wait for the viral. Still waiting for that viral video.
Days, just like the lorry load. Oh, we did have a lorry load.
We did. That's true. About two lorry loads.
We had a very nice order actually, which was 2 lorry loads actually.
Yeah, happy days. Evening, everybody.
Hi.
Thursday, 7 on the nostrils.
Yeah, riojaing around the clock, as you see.
Indeed,
You happy, doggy? Happy?
Finn's here. I'm here. I'm Jude.
I'm Pam.
Finn the dog. Welcome, Hannibal Brown. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Claire. Give us a wave if you're there. Say hello. Then it's always nice to know who's watching. From this end, all we can see is
ourselves,
us, actually. Yeah, us and a collection of bottles and canapes, which isn't all bad, actually. Jane, hi. The wine arrived today. Excellent news.
Hi, Jane.
Excellent news.
Yep. Good evening, everybody.
Nettie.
Hi, Nettie. So this is Hannibal Brown. Every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock, we broadcast on Facebook and YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
You can join us. You can look on the website for the schedule of events coming up. And my goodness, there are some really good ones coming up. We'll talk about that in a wee while.
Indeed. Hi, Alice. Hi, Simon and Luke. Hi, everyone. Thank you for the hellos.
You can even ring us. We have Simon on a telephone call here at the moment, listening in.
Indeed.
And Hillary's shortly joining us. So there's no way, there is no nth to the degree that we will go to try to contact you whilst we can't do our external events.
Exactly. Thank you, Simon. Hi, Kerry. Hi, Russell. Right. Well, first of all, I'm just going to show you my plate of
look at these
my canapé
beauties,
board of canapés, which Finn is going nuts about.
Well, who wouldn't? Parma ham.
Woo-hoo. So here we have the mushroom swirls. Ooh, and the Parma ham. Not Serrano ham. We're in the wrong country there.
Serrano.
And Manchego cheese. So they're all there for when we get tasting. But I suppose first of all,
what are we doing?
Let's pour a glass and say cheers. Happy Thursday, everyone.
Happy Rioja Day.
Yeah.
And well, yes, cheers. Just have a little slurp, actually. Cheers, Simon. So we're kicking off with this crazy looking bottle. Surprise, surprise, is in actual fact Japanese. Oh, no, it's not. It's Spanish with a Japanese label. Sorry, the telephone's just rung. We've got somebody trying to contact us and get onto the call. So a white Rioja. And what do we know about Rioja? We know that historically it's always been about red. And in more recent years, there was a good reason why they introduced white. And what was it, Jude?
Well, I missed the first bit.
Bloody
Sorry,
phone.
I was just making sure that hello, Hillary, had joined us successfully because we were struggling to get her on board the last few weeks. So Hillary has joined us via YouTube. Is the news hot off the press? So what was the question?
Well, I was just burbling on basically.
Okay, well,
I'm pretty useless without the sidekick. No, I was just saying historically Rioja has been around for an awful long time, but in more recent years, white Rioja was introduced because well,
what's the answer to the question? Oh, well, as in the stylistically, white Rioja is made from Manchego cheese, hence the choice of canapé.
Not from, for Manchego
for Manchego cheese. Yeah, that would be a weird turn of events.
You misheard that.
But we've asked numerous occasions, what is we're not going to give you any points for guessing what the white grape in white Rioja is these days, or the main white grape.
No.
We'll just tell you it's Viura.
Yeah.
However, and we'll talk about the history in a moment, but pre-phylloxera, that nasty little bug that came and decimated vineyards across the world, it was a different white grape.
It was
the primary grape. So it has changed over time. Yeah. First of all, should we just give everyone a bit of a where on earth is Rioja?
Let's see where Rioja is.
Okay, so and obviously because I like to get a picture.
One of my favorite questions is always, is Rioja a village, a river,
or
something else,
or a brand or something?
Or something. Well, because it is surprising actually how Rioja is known worldwide, but actually few people appreciate that. I'm sure you will appreciate this, but few people appreciate that it is actually a region in the north of Spain.
Indeed.
Pointed out, Jude.
So here is a map of Spain, Spain being roughly a big square, and Rioja is up there at the top. It's the dark orange patch, so really quite far north, really quite close to the French border, and an area of the top. One of the areas of Rioja is in the Basque country, so you've got San Sebastian sort of straight up on the coast there. So it's
a wonderful culinary city.
Absolutely, yes. I did a cooking course in San Sebastian once, and it was a really fantastic.
But it feeds very nicely into the style of Rioja as well, which sits beautifully with certain foods, and we will come on to that as well.
Indeed, indeed. So let me just pop a quick map of the La Rioja region. So La Rioja is the name of like the sort of wider region, and then within it, there's 3 sort of sub-regions, if you like, aren't there?
Yeah.
So the furthest north, which does sit within the Basque country, is Rioja Alavesa, which is, for those of you who can see the map, is the dark red section. Then the yellow, which is in the very north. The yellow section, which is northwest, is Rioja Alta, which is known for producing their sort of higher end wines.
Yeah.
And then on this map, it's labeled Rioja Baja, B-A-G-A, but actually a couple of years ago in 2018, it's been renamed as Rioja Oriental.
Oriental, after this wonderful white wine. No, that's
reason,
not true. They've just called it Rioja Oriental.
Indeed, so we don't know why. We don't know why, but it's changed its name. So if you hear Rioja Oriental, then it means Rioja Baja.
So why did we all go bonkers about Rioja?
Well,
why is it so successful? Why is it so popular?
Look, Luke is saying this Rioja is stunning. As too is the ton of canapes Simon's arranged. Alice has got no confidence in her mushroom swirls, but now is the time to try it, because this white Rioja is produced using oak, which is a very traditional way of producing white Rioja, isn't it?
It is the traditional way of producing white Rioja, but that's not to say that all white Rioja is produced in barrels. It used to be that was the status, but you can now get Rioja, white Rioja, that is unoaked. And an example of that would be on our website. If you go to Rioja Blanco and have a look at a wine called Palaciega, it's one of our go-to wines, actually. It's only $10.95, and it's one of those that we drink kind of quite regularly because it's nice and it's fresh and it's lighter than a barrel ferment.
Totally different kettle of fish, really,
totally different. So the purists may suggest that actually it's not real Rioja, because real white Rioja is produced in a similar way to the red Rioja, which is a barrel ferment.
It's all about the barrels.
But it does serve purpose.
Indeed.
And the market loves white Rioja, it loves red Rioja, and it's quite nice to have the two styles of white. One for food, which is this one, and the other one, which is probably more aperitif.
And also some people have been put off oak in the past, so it's there for the oak haters. A few more quick hellos. Hi to Tim and Emma, and also their neighbours Pete and Jane. I wonder if you're sitting in the rain in the garden, socially distanced or not.
Oh, how nice! It's warm out there. It's warmer. It's warmer out there than it is in here. I hope you've noticed that we've dressed up for the occasion.
We are wearing our shirts this evening. Yeah. No polo shirts. Rioja. It's a smart region. There's a lot of history. We need to give it some respect.
Yeah.
As you need to give respect to the mushroom swirls.
Oh, so, yes.
Has anybody made their mushroom swirls? How did they come out? And are you tasting them with the wine? So I always think that, not for you, Finn.
Not in a million years, Doggy.
Oaked wines and kind of wines with the richness like this Rioja Blanco, also Chardonnays, really good with earthy flavors like mushrooms and also cheeses as well. So that's why I kind of came up with the mushroom swirl recipe, and mine I thought was going to go all wrong, but fortunately once you put them in the oven and they puff up, it hides a multitude of sins in the preparation.
It's delicious. And also the thing that actually cuts beautifully with this wine is that you get this sort of oaky butteriness in the wine, but you also get it balanced off with a kind of the buttery pastry, which is really bad for you, but really tasty. So nice combination, actually. And again, the earthiness of the mushrooms. You said there weren't enough mushrooms in it. I kind of think there's lovely mushrooms in it.
Yeah.
But the more mushrooms, the better. The more the earthy flavors, the better, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously, as with everything in life, the more cheese, the better. So don't forget to do this swirling. I haven't said it for a couple of weeks now, but it is so important to get this wine swirling around your mouth and like try and intake a little bit of air, because it really does release
all the energy and the aromas and the flavors. Well, not the aromas in your mouth, but the flavors. And you just kind of like just easier to appreciate. It's more wine. You know, you get more value for money if you do that than if you just like neck it.
Yeah, it's true, actually, with everything. Savor it all, you heathens. So this white Rioja as well, it's 2017. The vintage is 2017. So again, it's had 3 years.
Yep.
Well, probably not quite 3 years, a couple of years cramped up in its bottle.
Yeah.
So it needs to open up, and it is potentially white that you could decant as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So
it's quite a big wine, but with food, it's a nice elegance. And also, the nice thing about this is 3 years down the line, it's got good acidity. So you get a little piquant to it, a little spicy sort of acidic tone to it, and also for all the time that acidity is there, which is vital, it will continue to age. And I think this wine, as it ages, is going to be really interesting. It's just going to get broader and broader and richer.
Yeah,
actually.
so the key is buy half a dozen, put them away, and drink one a year. And then on the 6th year, you go, wow, it's really come into its own, and you'll have run out. So maybe a dozen.
That won't make us rich.
No,
It will not make us rich. If anyone stick one bottle a year.
No, it's true. But we know everyone who's listening this evening drink far more than one bottle a year. So Emma has got the correct canapes. The swirls are delicious. And yes, we are in the garden
and socially distancing.
Excellent
Very
news.
good.
We would not like to encourage anything other than that.
Very
and I
good.
just actually, whilst I'm waving my pen around, this is quite funny. When I was just making a few notes earlier on, and that proves that we do prepare. Look, this is my Rioja pen. So we went every year. In fact, we go to the Rioja tasting. It's a trade event in town. And they have Riojas of every different style, and they're sort of top 10 of each style, which amounts to around about 100 wines, I think, usually, doesn't it?
Yeah.
From Rosé to Reserva, Crianza, we'll talk about that in a moment, white Riojas, traditional white Riojas and unoaked white Riojas. So it's a really interesting event, and it really does give us confidence that the wines that we have on our list are really fab, because we've tasted them against others and we're like, nope, these are good, value for money, and quality, basically.
And on that point, in actual fact, we've got quite a few white Riojas and red Riojas. Gran Cerdo, which we covered a couple of weeks ago, is from the Rioja region. There's a red and a white there. They're $10.95 each.
They're the ones with the pigs on them.
And we've also, to just make it simple, just really simple, we have the timeless Rioja case. Actually, it's Rioja and Sauvignon case, in actual fact, which is a series of different Riojas and a series of different Sauvignon Blancs. So if you want to like choice of Riojas, have a look at the website and have a look at the cases.
Pre-mixed, so you don't even have to bother siphoning through the website.
Sit back and relax and let us do the work.
Indeed.
We've been working very hard on our new website. I hope you've noticed.
I'm sure they have. So one big question that you're going to be thinking about this bottle is, why has it got Japanese symbols on it?
I don't know. Why has it got Japanese symbols on it?
There's always something really un-PC that's going to come out in these things. So it's obviously Spanish, because Rioja is a region in Spain. So any Rioja has to come from Rioja. This particular producer, the producer is Bodega Ontanon, but there's a chap who's a chef called Felix Jimenez, Jimenez, if you want to say it in a London style. And Felix Jimenez he's a chef who went and spent a lot of time working all over the world, but especially in Japan. Fell in love with Japan as a country. He actually now has a Japanese restaurant in Rioja, in the region, very, very high end. And he wanted to team up with a wine producer to make a wine which would work with his food. So actually, he does recommend this with ramen noodle dishes, which I think is, I would need to try it because it wouldn't be my first thought. But
he suggests ramen, but he also suggests pastas and chicken dishes.
Yeah, indeed. And then the chicken goes back to the earthiness,
which we kind of get, but we haven't, to be fair, we haven't tasted with the ramen.
No, so that's on the list for lockdown lunches this week.
Yeah,
or maybe dinners if we can have a bottle of wine with it.
Yeah.
So that's the reason for the symbols on the label. Akemi, according to my, if you can follow this connection, my step-sister-in-law, who is Japanese, Akiko. Hi, Akiko. I don't think you're there. Akiko says that Akemi is actually a girl's name in Japan. It's a sort of, known as a girl's name. And she thought, well, maybe it's the chef's girlfriend or something. But actually, it also means beauty and I think purity. Every time we ask someone, we get a slightly different response.
Beauty, purity, balance, harmony, any of those will do.
And looks nice on the label.
And
so that's the story behind the label there.
It is quite extraordinary how many people come up to when we're out doing other external events. This is the label that attracts the most attention. Isn't that kind of weird? Isn't that really weird? But it just goes to show that, you know, the strength of a label, and we all buy on labels if we don't know any better. So actually, you know, fair dinkum to him to create something that is a little bit unusual. It does make people think, oh my God, you got Japanese wine.
You got a Japanese Rioja. How does that work? Okay, so here we go. Here, I'm going to put this out there to you guys because I know how much everyone likes answering questions.
Here we go.
So as I said, Viura is the main white grape in the Rioja region and does account for an awful lot of the white wine produced there. Pre-phylloxera, and there was a different main grape, which is also now the second grape in Spain. And there's a really tricky question here, but I'd like to know if you have any idea what the grape was. What was the main white Rioja grape?
Don't worry if you don't know it, but there are some sort of swats out there who like the questions.
Yeah. And I would say just mention any white Spanish grape, which is tricky. So pop them out there and I'll let you know when someone gets it right.
But just say hi, Jill and Andy.
Hi to Jill and Andy.
Thanks for joining us. Welcome to Hannibal Brown. Right, so
can I just give a quick little overview of the size of Rioja?
Go for it.
Yes, so Rioja as a region produces about 175 million bottles a year.
That is
about more than 10 times the amount produced in the whole of this country.
Yeah.
And it's quite a small region, actually, land size. Yeah. It's about 40 kilometers all the way across. And it's a long, thin strip of land, really. Yeah. So, well, not long, it's a long, thin region. So there's 600 wineries, which
is the same number as there are in Britain.
Doesn't sound like very many. But there's nearly 15,000 grape growers. So these are individuals who have vines, who grow grapes, and then sell them on to whoever will be making the wine. So it's not necessarily cooperative.
No. It is true to say that in Spain there are an awful lot of very, very vast syndicates who've sort of consolidated various different estates. So they've come together and quite kind of clever. And we'll move on to the Gavanza in a minute because that is an example of one of them. But the Akemi comes from a single producer. The Gavanza is an example of one of these sort of syndicates where they've come together and they're sort of almost like supporting and producing and marketing all of their estates, but in a kind of like consolidated way. So that's why they say there's only 600 wineries.
But they're doing an awful lot of work.
Yeah.
And actually, I did make I'm going to talk to you about that at the end. I'll put this down. I was just about to have another little mushroom swirl, but I won't. So it was in 1925 that they sort of classified the Rioja region and gave it its sort of controlled origin status. And those of you who were here when we were talking about Portugal on Sunday, you know, the Douro Valley was was the first official wine region, and that was back in the late 1800s.
Yeah, regulated wine region.
Regulated, yeah, indeed. So you know, Rioja, 1925, it's early.
Yeah,
Finn's just having a lick of my clean arm. Yeah. But it's really in recent history that Rioja has boomed.
Yeah,
and the amount of times we have people come up to us at events and say, "Oh, I love Rioja.
I like
Malbec and I like Rioja."
Yeah,
they're the two things. And actually, in the last 20 years, within the Rioja region itself, the amount of area under vine has increased 60%. So producers are picking up on this and really planting and trying to make the most of it because we're all business people at the end of the day and need to make a buck. But also in those last 20 years, looking at exports, and the international market for Rioja wines is up 270%.
270%. That's a lot of exports in Rioja. And here's your question: which is the biggest export country for Rioja?
Yes, because we've not got any grape suggestions coming through. Luke and Simon, I thought you'd have been there already. Yeah, mildly disappointed. Which country is the biggest export market for Rioja?
Yeah.
And then just two other facts actually about Rioja as a whole.
Go for it.
It is exported. It is exported sold in 130 different countries. Yeah. So this is a worldwide known wine.
Yeah.
You know, it must be in the top 3 or 4 well-known wine.
We are tending to talk about the red now, though, because that's got the recognition. And relatively speaking, there's actually not an awful lot of white Rioja produced.
No,
not by comparison to the red.
But in fact, 10% white, 90% red.
Yeah,
or even slightly more red.
Yeah.
But also going back to barrels, because we've talked about how Rioja it's all about aging in barrels.
Yeah.
Rioja as a region has the largest volume of barrels in the world. It's home to about 1.3 million barrels.
Let's have a look at a picture. Let's have a look at a picture of a lot of barrels.
Here we go.
You're going to like this.
So we won't tell you what
Simon,
the picture's exactly of, because there is a
thousands of barrels rising into the air, into the sky. This is what it is.
So this is a winery, in fact, the largest winery in the Rioja region.
We're not going to name it.
We're not going to name it.
We don't need to know.
No, but I'm actually going to ask people later. So if you can't see the picture, it's stacked 6 barrels wide, and these barrels are probably 1.5 meters long and 1 meter tall, aren't they, lying on their side?
Yeah.
So there's 6 of them high, and it is a warehouse full.
Yeah,
it is vast.
And also just looking at that cellar there, I mean, that is millions and millions of euros worth of barrels. A barrel is an expensive thing. Mm-hmm. And so there are different sort of levels of barrels. So you get brand new barrels. And the price of a barrel these days is probably something between 600 and 800 euros. Can be more expensive, can be a little bit cheaper.
And that's empty.
That's empty. Mm-hmm. And this is why they reuse them. So you'll get 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-olds. And of course, as the barrels get older, they impart less and less and less. But combination of 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, quite nice actually, because if they're too new, they impart too much oak flavour, and you would end up with a wine that was almost like unbearably.
So then you get the real vanilla-y kind of connotations, which probably is less favourable in white wines, and reds can hide a little bit more.
Yeah, I suppose so. And then, of course, all those barrels, what happens to them? They end up in Scotland, with
the proper booze in them.
For the whiskey.
Oh, hi, Richard and Mandy. Just to say hello. Nice that you've joined us. Welcome.
Nice to see you. So anyway, just anybody who's just joined us, this is Hannibal Brown. We are based in Worcester Park. We're delivering every day all over the country. Mm-hmm. 125 odd wines in the portfolio, and this evening is all about Rioja.
Indeed. So there's a good question come in here just from Simon. Why did Rioja get such a strong reputation, and why do other Spanish regions struggle in comparison, especially for the red?
So
I think
this is a big question.
Going back to history again, actually, it was the first Spanish region to get its sort of status. And largely accredited to a chap called Luciano de Morieta, who spent time in Bordeaux, saw how things were working there, came back to Spain and said, right, we can do this, and really set up the first commercial winery in the Rioja region. Yeah. And that was in about 1852. So that was kind of where it all started. And that's Rioja grew and grew, and the other regions are really just catching up, and they're just lesser known now.
Well, I think at that point, Jude, I think actually it's relevant to let's pour the red, because we are now moving into red. And remember, 90% of Rioja is red, so let's go on with it.
And just to go back to the question about who's the biggest export
market, we've only had one answer.
We've had 2 actually, so
two answers.
Maybe let's put it out there again. For those of you who've just joined us, we were asking, which country do you think is the biggest export market for Rioja?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we're going to get a little glass of rouge going on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. Whilst we're doing that, I'd just like to sort of get everybody to listen for a second. So I had a very nice conversation today with Kerry. I think Kerry's here, joined us this evening. Good evening, Kerry.
Sister, I thought I was going to say, but yeah.
But she got me thinking. And we would like to, times have changed in the last few months. I think everybody agrees that. And our business has fundamentally changed as well. And I suppose what we're trying to do is scheme out what's going to happen in the next 6 months to the next year, or whether indeed we can look that far in advance. So if it's okay with you, we are going to create a bit of a fact finder in the form of a little questionnaire that we'd be really, really appreciative if you could give us your feedback. So we're going to make it as simple as possible. A series of different sort of questions. Be as honest as you can. And if you've got any sort of real sort of bugbears that you'd like us to do, or you love certain things that you do, or you don't love other things that you do, then be honest. Give us your feedback, and then we can kind of start forming a plan for the coming months, whatever.
We can only improve with feedback.
But just to say that the Thursday sessions will continue ad infinitum, and next Thursday is Greek night.
Greek night, yeah.
There is a full sort of dedicated page on the website now. So go on to the what is it? The
website?
Yeah, the lockdown live events. Scroll down and you click on the Greek night, and it'll tell you all about it.
Canapé recipes are there already.
All the wines are there and ready.
Yeah, ready to go. And we'll have the lovely ladies from Russian Rebels joining us to talk a little bit about food. They put forward the recipes for next week. They're nice and simple, but really tasty.
Yeah, next week's going to be quite a lot of food.
So we'll have a
lot of wine,
a little foodie chat.
Okay.
So can I go back to these questions? Because we have had the right answers. So yes, the UK is the biggest export market.
We are.
By a long way for Rioja.
Yeah.
So 30% of Rioja exports come to the UK, which is kind of an incredible number.
Yeah.
Second to us is Germany with 14%. And then Simon was just trying to put something different out there and said the US. And indeed, they're third, but with just 10%. So we really are a huge market for Rioja. And that's why when we do our events, so many people come up to our stand and say, I like Malbec and I like Rioja.
Yeah. Yeah. So going back to that question, and it is a really important question. This is what it's all about. You know, why is Rioja so popular? And you've just given the history. But stylistically, it has to be in the flavor, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not for
people
looking
love
at.
It.
Indeed, yeah,
people love it. And bear in mind, there's an awful lot of wine out there on the market, and Rioja doesn't necessarily sort of shout every day of the week, although it has fantastic marketing behind it. But I think it's the style. It's the style.
Yeah, it's the soft, fruity Tempranillo grape.
It's the oak.
And the oak, which so many people don't like oak, but they do like oak when it's done well.
I know, it's so funny. We're all fickle people. We think, oh no, we don't like oak, and yet oak is the key driver of Rioja.
But when it's done well,
it's smoothness and sort of like accessibility, which is what I hope you're finding in this Reserva Gavanza 2015.
So Luke did just ask, actually, is it a Crianza or not? And it is a Reserva, which means, so classifications of Rioja very quickly in a nutshell. Shall I do it? Joven, which is also kind of just now. In fact, let me put a little image up on the screen, because on the back of Rioja bottles you get a stamp of kind of authenticity.
Yeah.
And it's a different color depending on the style of wine. So the green stamp is for your Rioja. Okay, it's not Reserva, it's not Crianza, it's Rioja. Then the red stamp is for Crianza, which basically means it's spent a year in oak barrels and then is bottled, and it has at least a year in bottle. Reserva, which is your burgundy color, the Reserva spends a year in barrel, but at least 2 years in bottle. Now, these can still be 20 years old, but at least 2 years in bottle before being released, right?
Yeah. So just stop there.
Go on.
Because this is what we are drinking. We're drinking the Reserva.
Indeed, yeah.
So the Reserva is 2015. So if you think about it, it's spent a year in barrel and 2 years in bottle, which means you will never, ever find a bottle of Reserva Rioja less than any younger than
3 years old.
16, maybe 17. Yeah. They're not on the market. So, and the reason for this classification is that the people of the Rioja region, the Spanish, are actually doing us a favor by telling us or releasing the wines at the moment when they consider they are ready to drink. So we don't have to worry about the aging. We don't have to go, ooh, what do I do? Do I put this in my sock drawer? Do I wait? Do I drink it? They are releasing it onto the market when they consider it to be ready.
Which is why it's so good.
Which is why we are now drinking the 2015, which is little bit older. It's been in bottle for a bit longer, but it hasn't been in the market for that long.
No. And all the better for that little bit extra age. Because the Tempranillo grape has such a good capacity for aging.
Yeah.
When a winery decides to make a Gran Reserva, they're saying we've got really good quality here.
Yeah.
So you won't get a Gran Reserva every year necessarily.
No.
Our Bodega Urbina 1994 vintage, which we're selling now, is a Gran Reserva. And is
just go back to the labels. How old's the Gran Reserva?
Okay, so putting the picture up again, you're looking at a blue color, like a navy blue color stamp. And the Gran Reserva has spent 2 years in oak barrels and at least 3 years in bottle.
Yeah.
So this is like, we've got a wine here that is going to age and is going to be brilliant. So we're going to make it a Gran Reserva. We're going to hold back on releasing it. And it will age for much, much longer. And like I said, we have the 94 Bodega Urbina, and right now it's absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
And it's about £34 a bottle, I think. So.
We'll move on to the Urbina in a minute, but just so there's no confusion, it is a 1994 vintage. So it spent a minimum of 2 years in oak barrels, 3 years in bottle. But that producer, Urbina, decided not to release those wines until the 1994, until a few years ago. So that wine has aged a significantly longer time than the classification regulations stipulate. Because these are stipulations. The label that Jude just showed you on the back, those are regulatory. Beyond that time, the winemakers are able to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's move on to something really fun.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do it.
So Rioja, as a region, has a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wonder if anybody knows what happens on the 29th of June.
29th of June. Did it happen this year? I doubt it.
I doubt it.
Oh God, I wish it did though.
Well, it would have been. You could do it socially distanced.
Oh God.
Although I think possibly Spain wasn't.
If anybody's been to Spain, and well, let's have a look.
Okay. It's called the Batalla de Vino.
Batalla de Vino.
For those Spanish speaking who can make out my accent, or Pam's, it's basically a battle of wine. Okay. So it is a battle of wine, and people flock to a town called Jaro in the west of the Rioja region, in their thousands, actually, to the middle of nowhere. Coach loads of people. You have to wear white. You have to have a red fin. Show them your red scarf.
There we go.
There's a good boy.
There we go. He's ready.
You have to have a red scarf.
He's going into Batalla.
Red scarf, ojo scarf, white t-shirt, ideally white everything. And you have to bring some red wine with you.
And this is what you do.
Cheaper the better. Now, excuse the way of sharing this, but I'm just going to play you a bit of a YouTube video from someone's experience there, because it's kind of fun. And I just watched a bit of it, and I stopped it at a point where I thought, oh, well, this could be quite fun. So let's see if this works. Where's it gone? Here it is. Hang on a minute. Bear with me a moment, everyone. Let's just get this back. Yeah, there we go. That's it. So let's just press play. So this is the Batalla de Vino, okay? It's a big wine battle. You take wine.
This is what happens to all the Rioja.
Yeah. On the 29th of June, you take as much cheap wine as you can. You can take any vessel you like, and you just chuck it at people. So I was watching this video. This guy took a GoPro to his festival.
Whoa, there we go.
Yeah. And basically a really great quote that made me laugh when I was watching it. He walked past this guy and he was like, oh my God, he's got a leaf blower filled with wine. And he had it on blow, and it was just like covering it. It was like a Ghostbusters moment. It was hilarious. So the Batalla de Vino, Rioja, 29th of June, next year.
Let's go.
Yeah. But don't take the good stuff. That's definitely for sure. So what a laugh.
Fantastic. So I just want to go back to a question actually who's come up. It's the Crianza, a blend. So let's just get back to this. So Rioja is primarily made out of the Tempranillo grape. Mm-hmm. The Gavanza that we're drinking at the moment from Bodega Dominum, or Matiara Dominum.
Okay, I'll pop this up whilst you're talking, because these are the principal grapes allowed.
There we go. So predominantly Tempranillo. This wine has got a little bit of Graciano and Garnacha Tinta in it, but just a small amount. It's really all about Tempranillo. They have recently introduced sort of a little bit of Syrah into the
wider
permitted
region.
into the permitted grapes. But for all intents and purposes, Rioja is made out of Tempranillo. And going back to what Jude said, the nice thing about Tempranillo. Oh, what was my message about what's Tempranillo mean? What was the derivation?
Oh yeah, so it's
it means
it's to do with early ripening. Temprano, I think it was the Spanish word, temprano or something. Yeah.
Early ripening, because Tempranillo is an early ripening grape variety, which makes life very easy in actual fact. But anyway, that's that. And
so vast majority Tempranillo. If you just have a look at this, 87% of the red grapes in the entire Rioja region are Tempranillo.
Yeah.
Then Garnacha Tinta, Graciano, Mazuelo, and then you're in miniature amounts. And actually, this holds the answer to the white grape question.
Yeah.
So Malvasia was the main white Rioja grape.
Yeah.
But then Phylloxera wiped all of the vines out, and when they were replanting, they chose Viura, which was a lighter style and probably more malleable to producing with or without oak. So now Viura is by far at 70% the biggest white grape variety.
So just to answer that question again, though, is the Criantha a blend? Just to go over it, Criantha is a reference to the aging. So Criantha wines are aged for 1 year in oak and 1 year in bottle before they're allowed to be released. Okay, it's nothing to do with blend. It's an aging. It's legislative. It's an indication. It's defined amount of aging on that wine before it's allowed to be released and how it's made. Okay, there is Joven, Criantha, Reserva, which is this one, and then Gran Reserva.
And it has to be said, it doesn't necessarily mean it won't age.
No.
So our Bodega Urbina, going back to the older vintage Riojas we've got, the 99, so 21 years ago, that was produced as a Criantha.
Yeah.
So it's old, but spent a little bit less time in oak.
Yeah.
And when you taste it, what you get is more fruit.
Yeah.
And less oak, essentially, even after all this time.
Yeah. So I think what you get in this wine is sort of a little bit of sort of black cherry, a little bit of plumminess, but you also get this such lovely smoothness of the tannins that it just it's kind of like it just slips down. And I think with the Parma ham and the Manchego, I think it's really nice.
Serrano.
Sorry, Serrano. Did I call it Parma again?
No.
Oh my God, Parma on the hand. We haven't even done Italy for the last few weeks.
No.
Serrano, I think it tastes really well. But the key to this Rioja again is just that smoothness, and it's all about the way they use those barrels. It's not over oaked. It's not a heavy wine. A lot of people think Rioja is a big, heavy wine. It's not. It's kind of quite medium weight. It's not a heavy wine. It shouldn't be a heavy wine. But it does go amazingly with lamb casserole. That's my favourite go-to.
Yes, true. Yeah. Although not of this weather. Well, not weather, time of year, let's say.
Yeah.
So I just want to go back to the canapés, actually. So I put the canapé recipes out there, as I will try to do much more promptly going forwards. And for the red, I suggested Manchego wrapped in Serrano ham, but also on the side, to have some fig and some rocket to try the different variations, because the rocket is peppery and the fig is obviously sweet, and just to see how it changes the wine, because I think Rioja is such a good food wine that it does managed to go to kind of quite extremes of flavors to go with it. Now, unfortunately, we did have some lovely figs, which we had a couple of days ago, which really made me think of the fig. And then I couldn't get any more. So we have a grape, which, is doing the same job.
Yeah.
So go on.
Adding a little sweetness. So I'm just adding a little sweetness.
Yeah. So a little sweetness. And as we said with wine and food pairing, if you've got a sweet wine, you need sweet food to go with it. Sometimes if you have sweet food and a dry wine, it can absolutely fall apart. But obviously you've got the savoury Serrano and Manchego, and a little bit of fruit with it, I think could go really nicely with the soft Tempranillo.
Ooh, I need some more wine, actually. That's
more wine. Never let that happen in this household.
Thank you. Let me taste that.
There we go. Right.
Thank you.
Go for that again.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you a question whilst Pam contemplates that combination.
You're right. It brings out the fruit, but it also dries the tannins a little bit.
But
that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not too drying, but it does lift the fruit.
Is anybody tasting this now? I would like to know your thoughts. If you go down the more fruity side or down the peppery rocket side. Actually, I also sprinkled a bit of smoked paprika on these because that is the taste of Spain. If you ask me, it's like the chorizo flavor, and that smokiness is really nice with the oak in the wine and the age of the wines.
Right. So just to say, so the Rioja Reserva Gavanza, it's an interesting. Oh, have we got a picture of the castle?
Oh yeah.
Look at this, everybody. You're going to love this. And I've got a great story.
There we go. So this could be Disneyland.
Look at that. That is the Castillo Matiera,
which is basically a almost pink-colored fortification that looks like a Lego castle.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing? I think it's fantastic.
So that is,
however,
well, that is the origins of this red.
This is the origins of this red, but it's not made at that Castillo anymore. In fact, the only thing that's made at that Castillo is Malvasia, which is a white wine, and we're not going to talk about that now because it's, as I said, this red wine forms part of an estate of probably 50 different wineries. So it's now made in a different winery from various different vineyards across La Rioja Alta. As I said, it's majority Tempranillo with a bit of Graciano and a bit of Garnacha or Grenache. $14.75 for the bottle. And as you see, I'm putting my hands around the lovely magnums. And
you might not notice how
very
big this is.
happy.
This is a monster.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we go. That's a monster.
Put it into perspective.
We are really happy that we still have the 2013 vintage in Magnum. They are £32. There's not a huge number of them, but it is lovely to serve a Rioja in a Magnum. These Riojas, they're from Gavanza. It's worth decanting, but it's not essential because on these vintages or the 2015 in the bottle, it's not throwing a sediment, or certainly we haven't seen any sediment. But as you know, any red wine, it does need a bit of aeration. So if you've got a decanter, go for it, but it's not essential.
Just open it in advance. Well in advance.
Magnums do need decanting because they do need a little bit more air.
So I'm just going to pop up a little picture. Go on, whilst you say what you were just about to say, and I'll find the picture.
And this Rioja Reserva has spent, 14 months in oak. So the regulations say it has to spend a year in oak, but actually it's spent a little bit longer. And I think maybe that sort of adds to the softness and smoothness. So
maybe.
For $14.75 for a Reserva 2015 Rioja, this is a billy bargain.
Yeah,
it really
it's great
is.
value.
If you go into the supermarkets and you look for Reserva Rioja, you could spend more for less. But you're not going into supermarkets because obviously it's not safe.
No, it's not safe. Definitely
who'd want to go and buy their wine?
You're far better off with us delivering to your door. Here we go. So I'm just going to pop up these are Urbina wines. Okay. So the 94 is old. That is an old wine, and that is a Gran Reserva, and is stunning.
Yeah.
The 99 was Crianza, as I talked about. So much less time in oak, but actually really good and totally different, and still lovely age to it, and it's £20 a bottle.
Yeah, because you got to remember the use of oak is balancing the quality of the fruit. So if the quality of the fruit's not there in the first place, there's no point putting more and more and more oak in it. It just doesn't work. So it's very clever, it's very calculated, but it works. It really works. This sort of, a little bit of time in oak and an extra time in bottle before it's released.
Because oak can be used to hide flavors, but when we've got a good wine, it's used
and
to
also
balance.
This is another reason also why I think Riojas are popular, because so much wine these days is released onto the market too young, and these wines, the Riojas, are held back in their cellars and released onto the market when they're ready. So they're a little bit older already. And I think that is a big difference, that sadly, majority of wine is sold on the market is just sold too young.
Similarly with Chianti,
and wine just gets so much better when it's aged for longer.
Chianti, Champagne, and Rioja are all guilty
Chianti's
parties.
my biggest bugbear of all.
You can,
throwing wine down the toilet.
Yeah,
actually.
it's just not ready and not enjoyable when it's that young. And
it has to be
acidic.
aged. It has to be held back. Yeah.
So it's all about balance. Luke has pointed out that he thinks 99s are his favourite, but not the ice cream. So yeah, thanks, Luke. Thanks for the plug there.
Love a flake.
The Bodega Urbina 99 is just lovely. Obviously, the Gavanza is delicious too, and they all. Well, that's the point with our wines, is that they all sit at a price point that they're worth. Yeah. And if you spend a few more pounds on a bottle, you want to be able to appreciate it, and that's where we that's how we choose our wines. Is okay, yes. The 99, it's £20 a bottle. That's quite a big ask. You don't drink that every day. Yeah. But when you open it and drink it, you're going to enjoy it, and you're gonna £20.
Yeah. So as Richard is holding a bottle of 1994 Urbina. Good man. Well done. That you bought from us. Well done. Don't hold on for it for too long. It's ready to go. Drink it. It's ready. And also, just to point out, 1994 is considered probably, if not, I think definitely, the best vintage that has ever been produced in the Rioja region, 1994. So it is expensive. It's $33.75 a bottle. Yeah. And you are paying a bit of a premium because they're so rare to come by. I mean, it's so unusual to get these old Riojas. It's fabulous.
Sorry, I just wanted to pop back to Richard's question, because he actually said he's got, they're 94, but has a maroon stamp on the back.
Well, it's probably discoloured
from blue to maroon. Yeah, that's interesting. Which would suggest that it would be Reserva, not Gran Reserva. But now I'm 99.8% sure that the 94 is a Gran Reserva. So maybe they've changed their colour classifications.
I think the Pantones have changed.
Perhaps in the last 26 years. Yeah. So good point, Richard. I'm going to check some bottles when we get into the office tomorrow, and I will get back to you on that one. But very astute of you, unless it's just next to you.
So should we talk a little bit about Urbina?
Yeah, briefly. I mean, we've got to move on and leave everyone to their evening soon. All right. But yeah, let's talk about that. I just wanted to say, Emma has pointed out that they're loving the manchego cheese with the wine, and the figs make an interesting shift in the experience. So it really is interesting to try different flavor combinations. Just add a little something or take a little something away, and it changes the wine altogether.
Yeah, absolutely. Go onto our website. There is lots and lots of different food accompaniment ideas, various different accompaniments with different wines. So if you're looking for a specific wine and you think, ooh, what does that go with? Have a look at the recipes and see what the recommendation is, because we try and test them. It's not a perfect science, but actually, I mean, it's a lot of fun, and by and large, we're on the right wicket. That's
hopefully. But then trial and error is the beauty of it, and it means you can eat and drink a lot.
Yeah. So just a little word about Pablo Urbina estate. So he is going back to the Rioja tastings, the trade tastings that Jude was talking about, where we go along and taste sort of 250, 300 wines. The last one we were at, which was probably about 9 months ago, I think.
And where the picture for this event actually came from.
Where the picture from the event came from.
Which was kind of just fortuitous that we...
There we go.
There we go. With Rioja in lights.
There we go. It was wonderful to hear people shouting the praises of Urbina, because Urbina's wines were there, and they have such a following, even in the trade. The trade just consider Urbina to be, one of the top dogs. And the lovely thing about the Urbina wines is that we don't know how he does this. We'll tell you a little story. Mr. Urbina came into our office one Friday morning. We sort of arranged a meeting with him, but we were both kind of a little bit worse for wear, I seem to remember. And he arrived at 10 o'clock in the morning, armed with all these bottles of wine, and insisted we tasted them. And we were like,
really? About 10 vintages, I think we had to taste.
Oh my God. We were blown away, absolutely blown away on a Friday morning with a hangover. bish bash bosh, and he recommended every single one of his wines with very big style foods. So truffles, game, like steak, what else?
Mushrooms,
Manchego, sort of like big flavors that would stand up to his wines. Not to say that his wines are huge, but they. But the thing about Urbina is that he does this thing of holding back his wines in his cellar until he considers that they're ready. So that 1994 and the 1999, they were only released onto the market about 4 years ago.
So you couldn't get them before
he
they were
held
ready.
them in his cellar for all that length of time. God knows how he did it, because most winemakers want to get their wine out onto the market and get the money in the bank. He doesn't do that. He
must have a sideline.
Rich as hell, God knows what. And then along came the 2006 more recently, and I think the 2006 is the one that we most recently tasted.
Yeah.
And it is phenomenal wine. It's 14 years old, and it's fresh as a daisy. It's really, really worth a punt. It is $24.55. It's worth every penny. That's all I can say.
Give it a go, yeah. If you love Rioja, give it a go.
These are phenomenal wines. Give them a go.
Okay, so quick recap on what's coming up next. And again, thank you all for joining us. It's been lovely to have you here. So Thursday next week, Greek night, as Luke said, pop down to IKEA. No, don't do that. Smash your own plates and then make a mosaic or something. Be environmentally friendly. So canapé recipes are on the website. We're going to get the Russian Rebels come and have a little foodie chat with us for 10 minutes of the tasting. And we've got 2 really stunning Greek wines. One from Crete. The white is from Crete. And the red is from the mainland, from the Peloponnese, which is kind of southern Greece.
And then the following Thursday, meet the winemaker.
We have a special guest from Ernst Lucen.
Mr. Ernst Lucen
is the Villa Wolf of Villa Wolf fame, but actually he's Villa Wolf for his entry level, and those are the wines that we love. So the Pinot Noir Rosé from Germany, the Pinot Noir and the Pinot Gris, all stunning wines, ridiculously affordable price, and I mean his quality just goes up and up and up.
That's one to watch. That's one to really watch.
Really
one of the top winemakers in the world.
Industry.
And then hot off the press.
Yes, a couple of weeks after that, yet to be announced, but we're hoping to have. And probably will have the Casas del Bosque winemaker
from Chile.
Our Chilean wines, the Cabernet, the Carmener, the Gran Reserva Syrah, all of those. He's the winemaker, and they've been with us since year dot. So that'll be brilliant. And in between then, we might well have a little Romanian night.
Oh, Romania. Fantastic.
So see you on Thursday. Give us a shout if there's anything you need. Remember, we do Zoom tastings. We have DIY tasting kits.
Please do share. In answer to the question about the questionnaire or the fact finder, we're going to email it, and we are going to put it on our website, and you'll hear all about it in due course.
Yeah, any response is very welcome. So thank you, everyone.
Get on that website, go and buy some Rioja.
Indeed, and cheers. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Cheers. Nice to see you. Salut. No Bon Jovi. No, I forgot about the Bon Jovi. Here's the Bon Jovi.
We have asked Bon Jovi if he will join us.
We're waiting for Bon Jovi to reply.
Yeah, we're waiting. You never know. Cheers.